So firstly, you've really got to it. These are, in some cases, quite literally life or death decisions. These are people who come to the UK who are seeking protection because they feel that it's not safe for them to be in their home country. These aren't easy decisions most of the time, and that's why we believe that there needs to be somebody really with that expertise, and why the current system works from that point of view. We are concerned about the types of people and the background, and also the training that's going to be available and the support that's going to be available to people, so that they are ultimately getting that decision right about whether somebody is a refugee or actually maybe somebody doesn't need protection.
The public will replace judges in deciding asylum appeals. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is hoping to reduce the asylum backlog and speed up the deportations of illegal immigrants. So it's a new independent immigration appeals authority, the IIAA. It's going to allow asylum seekers one chance to appeal against rejected claims. That replaces a two-tier system currently operating, and it'll be staffed by people who've applied to become adjudicators, some full-time, some part-time, and the government says they will reflect a diverse population. All of these magistrate-style reforms are due to be announced tomorrow. Let's talk now to Jon Featonby, who is Chief Policy Analyst at the Refugee Council. Jon, a very good afternoon to you. Tell us a bit more about what you understand these proposals to mean. Jon, I wonder whether you can hear me all right. I might have to do...
Yes, I can.
Yes?
Now.
OK, brilliant. It was a very simple question, just asking you really for your reaction to these proposals. And actually, if you can tell us a bit more about them, I think we'd be very glad to hear that.
Yes, so one of the things that we're expected to be contained within this new asylum and immigration bill that's going to be published in Parliament tomorrow are really quite wholesale changes to the current way that asylum appeals are dealt with. So currently there is a tribunal which is led by judges, which hears appeals against refusals made by the Home Office when somebody has applied for asylum. And what we're expecting to see in the bill tomorrow is some more detail around this plan to completely replace that system, this judge-led system, with a new independent body that's going to sit within the Home Office, that's going to be led not by judges or people with legal backgrounds, but by other people recruited by the Home Office, who are then going to oversee the way that these asylum appeals are heard. One of the key reasons why the government is looking to make this change is that although we've seen in the recent years the number of people waiting for that decision by the Home Office, that first decision they get on their asylum application, coming down, is now below 50,000 people, which is the lowest it's been since about 2019. One of the consequences of that is that there are now more and more people waiting for appeals to be heard. And the last statistics that we have, it's at the end of March this year, there are around 90,000 cases waiting to be heard, which equates to about 114,000 people. So it's now almost double the number of people waiting for asylum decision.
So I'm sure that nearly all of our listeners will be very grateful to hear that something is being done about that backlog, because it is an astonishing number. But I think the initial reaction as well to this is to ask who these people are likely to be who will then hold the fate of other people in their hands. Do you know much about that?
So our concerns around this are really twofold. So firstly, you've really got to it. These are, in some cases, quite literally life or death decisions. These are people who come to the UK who are seeking protection because they feel that it's not safe for them to be in their home country. These aren't easy decisions most of the time, and that's why we believe that there needs to be somebody really with that expertise, and why the current system works from that point of view. We are concerned about the types of people and the background, and also the training that's going to be available and the support that's going to be available to people, so that they are ultimately getting that decision right about whether somebody is a refugee or actually maybe somebody doesn't need protection. And our other concern is really about, I've just talked about how that the number of people waiting for an appeal to be heard has grown. It's now around 60 weeks before people actually get that appeal even processed by the tribunal. But we don't think that this proposal is actually going to make a real difference for that. Firstly, we've heard in some of the news today that this new body isn't expected to even start to process appeals until the end of next year. By that point, on the way that backlog is currently growing, there could be around 200,000 people waiting for an appeal to be processed. So that's why we think there are much faster ways that the government could start dealing with that appeals process. And really, first and foremost about that should be making sure that the Home Office, again, those initial decisions that they're making on claims right the first time around. There was a report published at the end of last week by the Home Office's independent inspector that really showed how, although the Home Office is now making faster asylum decisions, the quality of those decisions has dropped. And that is borne out by the appeal statistics that we see as well, with around 2/3 of appeals that are processed either being overturned by the tribunal because the Home Office decision was wrong, or actually increasingly by the Home Office withdrawing that initial decision themselves, because when they get into the appeal stage, they realise that they can't defend it. And so actually that initial refusal of somebody's asylum application needs to be overturned.
But many people listening, Jon, and of course you will have heard this criticism so many times before, really do believe that there are just too many chances in this system. So people who don't deserve to live in this country, who aren't going to contribute in the right way to this country, will find the right legal pathway to make an appeal and then to make an appeal against an appeal. And at least what this is trying to do is to take away those opportunities. Would you agree that if the training is correct, then actually this will prevent exactly that kind of abuse of a system from happening?
I think first and foremost, what is everybody's best interest, whether that's an asylum applicant themselves, the government's best interest, or actually also the UK taxpayer too, is that the asylum process from end to end should be making decisions as quickly as possible and getting them right, hopefully, the first time around. And that's what we think there's a real argument for actually investing in those initial decisions too. But also, yeah, absolutely, with the appeals process, it's getting them right the first time around. We'll wait to see the exact detail about what's being proposed in the bill tomorrow. But at this point, we feel that we're sceptical that that right support will be there, that this is fast enough already, and actually that there are changes that can be made to the existing appeals process without having to rip it all up, that will deliver far quicker outcomes for everybody.
Yeah. Do you think that this is a more cost-effective way of dealing with those problems, and therefore this is why this has been chosen?
I think the real cost implication about that appeals backlog is that while people are waiting for that appeal to be processed, they are stuck. They're unable to get on with their lives. Many of those people who go into the appeals process will end up being found to be refugees, and so will get permission to stay in the UK. And then the people that we work with at the Refugee Council at that point really just want to get on with their lives, contribute to their communities, get jobs, etc., things like that. The problem with the appeals backlog at the moment is that it delays that point. And so actually we think that the quickest way to do that, the quickest way to reduce costs, is just to make sure those decisions are made the first time around. We're sceptical that these proposals are going to achieve that anytime soon.
Okay, so what would help to make those decisions correct the first time around?
So some of the reports that have been published recently, including by the Home Office's own inspector, highlights how some of the work that's been done in terms of trying to recruit people into the Home Office to make those decisions has caused problems. People aren't being recruited with the right expertise. They're not given the training to do that as well. And so although those people are then making fast decisions, those decisions aren't correct the first time around, and that's just causing problems further down the line as well. There's also issues, and we see this every day in our work, around people being able to access good quality legal advice early as well, and to actually invest in early in the process to make sure that the Home Office actually has all the information that it needs to make decisions that are right the first time around, we think would have far better implications further down the line, both in terms of saving money, but also making sure that people are moving through that system quickly so the government actually controls it.
Would a cheaper alternative also be to leave the ECHR so that the appeals system wasn't even available in such, to what many people see as kind of complicated way?
It's not really clear what leaving the ECHR would have around this. I mean, the UK is a signatory to the Refugee Convention, which is completely separate to the ECHR as well. We are one of the founder members of that, and we celebrate the 75th anniversary of this year as well. So really making sure that those decisions are made as quickly as possible so that people don't get stuck in the system too. absolutely making sure that the appeals system is hearing those cases quickly too, and not leaving people waiting in limbo, will mean that those people who are refugees who need protection can get on with their lives and start contributing to their communities. And those people who are found not to have the right to stay in the UK can also then be removed as well.
Yeah, as quickly as possible. What do you think will be the result of this system in terms of the people who will become adjudicators? We've got 14,600 magistrates in England at the moment. This is a magistrate-style adjudication system. 86% are white, 57% female, 81% over 50. It's hard to find figures about class and all of that, but what seems to definitely be true is that because this is unpaid work, it is thought to be dominated by middle-class professionals, semi-retired people who can afford to work for nothing. I'm not suggesting for a moment that those people aren't diligent and wonderful members of society, but if this is a magistrate-style process, how do you get a workforce that better reflects the diversity of our population?
I mean, magistrates do a really vital and important job. And again, we wait to see the exact detail. Our understanding is that the people working in this new appeals body will be paid. But then there's the question about how are these people going to be recruited? What exactly does the role look like as well? Because these are really, really vital decisions, both in terms of those people going through the process seeking protection, but also for the UK taxpayer as well, to make sure that these are right as well. Because if this appeal body isn't working properly, there are going to be judicial reviews as well, which is going to store up more problems.
Sure. The story of so many people who come to this country, Jon, can be told in a very dark way at the moment. From your experience, can you just tell us a little bit more about the positive refugee contribution that you know can be and has been made to this society? Who are these people? What do they want to be in the UK?
It's a really important question, and we've just celebrated Refugee Week as well, which really highlights the contribution of people who've come to the UK who are really grateful for the protection that they've then been given by the UK as well, and are starting to be able to contribute to their communities. I work alongside staff at the Refugee Council who do really vital work, but we also run programmes with healthcare professionals who have been given protection in the UK, and now working in our NHS as well, and meeting some of those really vital needs too. And that's what we've really stressed the importance of as the government and as Parliament starts to debate this new bill and these government reforms as well, is really focusing on what some of those vital protections are to refugees, why the UK signed up to the Refugee Convention in the first place, but also how best we can enable those refugees to then contribute to their communities. Because that's what we see at the Refugee Council every single day, is people who have come to the UK and want to have that opportunity to rebuild their lives and become really valued members of their societies.
Jon, thank you very much indeed for talking to us this afternoon. That's Jon Featonby, who is from the Refugee Council. We welcome all of your thoughts on the afternoon show. We're 0333 003 2353. And Jane is away this week on her holidays, but we remain with the same email address. We're contractually obliged. We're Jane and Fee at times.radio. Coming up, the residents of Rome